The morning it happened, the sky was too quiet. You ever feel a silence so still it startles you? Sunlight was coming through the kitchen window like it always did, trying to be soft, gentle, slow. But I knew better. That kind of quiet don't come without a storm sitting right behind it. I was still in my robe, morning tea only half steeped, when the doorbell rang once. Sharp, like it was trying to cut through memories. I shuffled down the hall, slippers whispering across the hardwood floor. Mail sat untouched on the side table, last week's birthday card for Marcus still unopened. 12 years, 12 birthdays, 12 Christmases. Not a single call, not even a sorry, just nothing. Emptiness spread wide like a field, and me sitting right in the middle of it without no map. When I opened the door, it wasn't him, just a delivery driver. Brown box, medium size, no handwriting. Just my name, black and cold. We exchanged polite smiles. He didn't know nothing about the ache inside me. Just doing his job. I took the box in, set it down on the kitchen table like it might explode. My hands hovered over it. Now let me tell you this. If your child disappears for 12 years, and then one day a plain box with your name on it shows up, you get real careful about how you open things. I untaped it slow. Something about the glue felt old. Inside was a shoebox. Familiar. Like one I packed for Marcus when he left for college all them years ago, when hope still held my spine straight. It still had the sticker from that little sneaker shop on Main, the one that closed before Joylene even had her second baby. I peeled back the lid. There it was. A folded sweatshirt. His college one. Prairie View. I held it like it might breathe on its own. Beneath that, an envelope with just one word on it. Mama. My hands? Baby, they didn't just shake, they trembled like thunder lived in my knuckles. I ain't breathed proper since that moment. The air got heavier as I opened it. Not a letter. Not handwritten pages with beautiful apologies. No, just a small, clear cassette. Tiny thing with heart-sized weight, and black ink written across the label in his sharp, slanted print. Don't play this unless you really want to know. Child, if you only knew how many days I begged to know. I went to the back of the house, found the old cassette player Marcus bought me one Christmas, dusted it off like an altar, clicked the tape in. My finger hovered over play. The moment I pressed it, silence screamed. Then his voice. You don't forget your child's voice, no matter how long it's been. Even if you try to box up love, it leaks out the corners when you hear them speak. Mama, if you're hearing this, then someone finally decided to care. Probably not me, might have been Caleb, I don't know. He coughed, not a shy cough, a heavy one, held breath from emotion. I ain't reach out because I didn't know how to unhear what I heard. That day you thought I was just coming to get my laundry, but I came early? I came in through the back, and I heard you talking to Aunt Shine. And what you said, it broke everything. You said you wished he was never born. My breath caught. No, that's not what I said. Lord, no. You said he was just like his daddy, and I know what that meant to you. So I left, because I didn't want to be a reminder you had to feed. I didn't want to sit at your table while reminding you of your worst mistake. Lord Jesus, no, that's not what I said. I never told nobody. I just left. Told myself it was righteous to vanish. But the truth is, I've missed you every damn day since. I didn't know how to come back to the woman who didn't want me. Tears fell out of me, big ones, loud ones. I pressed pause. The tape clicked like it knew I needed a moment. I was frozen. Still wearing that soft gray robe Marcus bought back when he still called me Ma instead of Ora. My right hand covered my mouth like grief was trying to slip out too fast. I whispered to the room, that ain't what I said. That ain't what I meant. And then it hit me. That tape. He heard something he was never meant to, but he didn't hear the whole thing. And I remembered, clear as spring water, Aunt Shine interrupting me mid-sentence that day. We were talking about his father, not him. And I had said, he just like his daddy sometimes. Sweet when he wants to be, selfish when he not watching himself. And then I said, Some days I wish he wasn't born into this kind of pain. Meaning, this life, this mess, not him. He never heard the rest. He took a knife out that half sentence and carved it into his heart. I stood up in a daze, walked to that hallway drawer. The place where old phones, keys, cords, remotes, thumbtacks lived with dust. And there it was, my old flip phone. Battery dead, screen cracked, but I knew what was on it. The second voicemail. The one I left 2 days after Marcus left home. The one I cried through. I plugged it into the charger. Ain't used that thing in a decade. Red light blinked. Then, and I swear to you, the screen lit up. I typed in the old code, scrolled through messages, tears already burning. Then I saw it, one unheard message. I pressed play. My voice crackled through the tiny speaker. Marcus, baby, come home. Please call me. I ain't sure what you thought you heard, but that ain't what I meant. I was talking about your father, not you. I love you more than breath. I miss you like blood misses heartbeats. Please come home. Please. Silence followed. Then the screen blinked. Deleted. No timestamp, no playback, just gone. I stared at the blank display. My reflection looked back at me. A woman broken by a misunderstanding so deep it hollowed out over a decade. I whispered low, almost too soft for the air to catch it. Who deleted it? Because it wasn't me. My mind went back. That day Marcus left. The way his bag was already packed. How Joylene and Caleb had been fighting over bills. That old landline ringing off the hook. And Aunt Shine. That woman had been in the house that day, cleaning out the hallway for Bible study like she ran the place. I gasped. Oh no, no, no! Could it have been? My phone rang suddenly. Present-day phone, smart, loud. Scared the spirit back into me. I looked down. Aunt Shine. 15 years of silence from Marcus. And now she calling? I answered with a dry throat. Shine? Put the tape down, she said, voice low. I don't... Put it down. You're not ready to hear all that alone. I didn't know whether to cuss her or cry. My chest burned. My hands stopped shaking. And I whispered, You deleted it, didn't you? I said. Her voice came through the line like gravel sprinkled with sugar. Put the tape down, Ora Mae. You don't need to face that part alone. Something inside me pinched, small and sharp, a memory trying to push its way back through the years. I gripped the phone tighter, stared at the soft tape player still humming idle on the counter. Marcus's voice still floating in that room like a ghost wearing my baby's face. You erased it, I said, slow, low, steady like a storm about to roll in on tired legs. You erased the message I left that could have kept my son home. Aunt Shine breathed out so heavy I heard her earrings clink against the receiver. I ain't erased it, she said, but I pressed a button I shouldn't have. Thought it was just one of them junk messages from the pharmacy. Them machines all sound the same. I ain't know it was your heart trying to reach him. I sat down hard. The kitchen chair wheezed beneath me, like even it was tired of standing in the middle of my broken. You cost me 12 years, Shine. I know, baby. No, I snapped, tears hanging right behind my eyes like thieves behind glass. Don't baby me right now. Say it straight. She sucked her teeth. I cost you 12 years. Silence stretched long like the spaces between Marcus's birthdays, between my phone's hopeful buzz and the nothing that always followed. Then came her voice again, low, tender now, but I also might be the key to undoing it. See, you thinking he only heard some words out of context, but it was worse than that. Baby, Marcus overheard more than just your voice that day, and it wasn't all lies. Back then, the summer heat had a thickness that crept down your back and stayed there, sticky like guilt. I had just come in from scrubbing Miss Delilah's place. She always left her oven racks for me, like I had steel for hands. My shirt was damp, jeans dark at the knees, and I was trying not to think about how the rent was 2 days late and Marcus's financial aid hadn't posted yet. Inside our house, the fan in the living room blew hot air, wobbled a little when it turned to the left. The old floor creaked near the front window like it was groaning under the weight of too many secrets. Caleb's basketball sat deflated in the corner. Ania's broken toy stroller leaned next to it like it missed being pushed. I looked a mess that day. Didn't even reach for lipstick or earrings. Hair tied up with a scarf more out of survival than style. Sweat dripping into the folds of my neck. Feet sore. Soul sore. And Shine? She was already sitting at my kitchen table, flipping through my napkin holder like it owed her a story. "You cooked yet?" she asked without looking up. "I just got back in." She glanced at me, flicked her wrist. "You look like tired laid down and slept on you." "Appreciate the warmth," I muttered, dropping my purse onto the wobbly counter. A bill slid out. Electric, damn near pink with warning. "I saw Marcus outside," she said after a beat. Boy barely smiled. Looked like sadness wrapped in a sweatshirt. I sighed. That child been different since sophomore year. "Yeah, well, all them books don't teach him how to talk to his mama." "He've been real quiet since he found out about his daddy," I said, voice more brittle than I meant it to be. Shine leaned back in the chair, arms folded. "You ever tell him the full of it?" "No." I poured myself a glass of water, warm from the pipes. He don't need that mess in his head. At the time, I meant that. I was trying to protect him. Some days protection and silence wear the same coat. "I just wish," I muttered, "he wasn't born into this much pain." Then I felt it. The air shifted. I looked over my shoulder. Nothing. But I swear on my people's bones. Someone was listening. Marcus had come home that day to surprise me. He'd finished a summer class early. Took a cab from campus. Wanted to bring me a red velvet cupcake from that bakery near the dorm. His favorite kind to share on hot days, back when he was little and thought cooling off meant cutting the AC and eating ice cream on the floor with the lights off. He walked in through the back door. Quiet steps, hands full. And he heard it. He heard me say, "I wish he wasn't born into this much pain." But he didn't wait to hear that I was talking about his father leaving us with more debt than love. He didn't stay for the rest where I said, "And I'm trying to give him better than I ever had." No. He walked back out the same door, slow, heart bleeding so quiet not even the floors creaked. Aunt Shine didn't know he'd been there. Not till later, when I went looking and Marcus was gone. Left a note. "Don't worry about me, I'll be good, take care of yourself." That's all. I remember calling him, over and over, left voicemails, long ones, short ones, sobbing ones. Then that second one, and a week later, Shine came over wanting to clean out my voicemail box. Said something about storage space and old messages pile up like roaches if you let them. She pressed delete. Thought she was doing me a favor. Didn't know she flushed my one lifeline down the digital drain. In the months after Marcus left, the house felt like it was meant for echoes instead of people. Joylene asked once if Marcus got locked up. I snapped. She ain't speak to me for 3 days after that. Caleb stayed out extra late, avoided the talk. Anya asked if Uncle Marcus had gone to the moon. "No, baby," I told her. "Sometimes people go to a place inside themselves. No rocket needed." But that lie stuck in her like sugar in teeth. Something always there. All these years I'd convinced myself Marcus left because he had something brewing on the inside. Maybe a girl, maybe a secret, maybe a life he didn't want to share yet. But the truth? He left because he thought I stopped loving him. And when your own blood believes that lie, it don't whisper in the dark. It wails. Later that week, when Aunt Shine dropped back by to bring me sweet potatoes and more guilt, I saved my words, but served my silence hot. She sat real still in the chair beside the window, purse clutched like a prayer book, eyes scanning Ania's drawings on the fridge like they'd tell her how to speak right. "I wrong," she said, "but I didn't mean to be cruel." "Intent don't pay for consequences," I said, still folding laundry without looking at her. "I know," she replied, "but maybe I can still help stitch the wound I tore." I paused, turned to her, looked her in those brown eyes filled with too many no's and not enough doing. "If you really want to help," I whispered, "you gon' drive me to him." A few days after that, I stood on his porch. My son, my baby. 12 years of what-ifs dripping down my spine like sweat from memory. I wore that olive green blouse he bought me in high school, said it brought out my eyes, paired it with clean white jeans, hair pulled up in a high puff, gold earrings. No lipstick, too much war that day to wear color on my mouth. The door opened slow. Marcus, older, taller, hurt curled around his eyes like sleep never stayed the night. He looked at me like seeing a ghost he wasn't sure he wanted back. I opened my mouth to speak, but he cut me off. You really here? Lord, his voice still had my dimple in it. That same low tone that used to sing, "Ain't no mountain high enough," while helping me wash the dishes. I'm here, I said. He looked around like my honesty might be hiding behind a bush. Then, just like that, he stepped aside. And I stepped into a silence so personal, it might as well have been sacred. Marcus didn't speak at first, just walked ahead of me, his footsteps slow like his soul wasn't sure if it should keep moving. I followed, feeling like a stranger in a home I'd helped raise. His place was neat, too neat. Not clean neat like my crew leaves a place. No, this was sad neat. Empty corners, walls with only outlines where pictures should have hung, couch barely worn in, kitchen untouched. You could smell loneliness in it. He motioned for me to sit on the far side of the sectional, then sat down across from me, fingers locked together like he was holding himself together. You want water? He asked quietly, like hospitality still lived in his bones, even if forgiveness didn't. I'm okay. I didn't come for water. I came to breathe for the first time in 12 years. He looked down at his lap. I listened to the voicemail again before I mailed the tape. My heart caught. As much as I prayed he had, a part of me hoped he hadn't, that maybe I could be the one to say the words. Fix it. Clean it the way I used to clean his scraped knees when he was 8. And? I asked, voice softer than I expected. Marcus reached for something on the coffee table. A little dictaphone, same one my late brother used to transcribe church sermons. He clicked it on. Play. There it was, my own voice from the past. Grainy, full of steel and tremble. I heard myself say it again. That boy just like his daddy sometimes. Sweet one moment, then all selfish charm the next. Some days, I just wish he wasn't born into this kind of pain. I flinched when I heard it too. Didn't matter that I knew what I meant, only mattered what it sounded like. Marcus paused the tape and looked at me with eyes stitched tight around a wound. I came in the back door that day, set the cupcake down on the counter, heard you and Aunt Shine talking in the kitchen. He swallowed hard. You didn't know I was there. My nails pressed into my palms. I know. He leaned forward now, elbows on his knees. I wanted to turn around, walk out, but I didn't. I stayed, just stood there, hoping the next thing you said would be softer than the last, but it never came. Tears welled and dropped before I could catch them. He noticed but didn't flinch. His eyes stayed dry, guarded, like he didn't want to get wet with hope too soon. I whispered, I wasn't talking about you, baby. He didn't blink. I know that now. Then he clicked the tape again. And that real voicemail, the one Aunt Shine accidentally deleted, played through the device like a benediction. My voice on the tape cracked with love and desperation all over again. Marcus, baby, come home. I wasn't talking about you. I'd never say that about you. You're the best damn thing that ever came from him. Please call me, please. He paused it, mid-sob. I never heard that, Marcus said. You know how many nights I laid in bed thinking you hated me? I was crying now, fully broken. 12 years of mothering damned behind grief. I left it on your phone, baby. But Shine thought it was some pharmacy reminder. She deleted it. He blinked, sat back slowly, let the ceiling take a full breath before he did. And all this time, I built a whole personality around being unloved. I stood up, couldn't help it. Pain needed movement. I crossed the room and knelt in front of where he sat, like he was a broken altar I was desperate to pray over. I never hated you. Not a breath, not a blink, not an inch of you, Marcus. I hated that your father left, that he left me to raise all this by myself. I hated his shadow, not your light. You were always my reason, even when I was tired of having reasons. He closed his eyes. Tears slipped out sideways. Then he did something I didn't expect. He smiled, just a little, like his bones remembered joy but weren't quite ready to dance again. That makes sense, he said. Guess I've been holding on to the pain too long. No, baby, I whispered, touching his knee. You were holding on to what you thought was truth, and that pain told you you were unworthy. But it lied. It lied to you so well it tricked the rest of us. The room went quiet again. This time not sharp, softer, sacred. We drove back to my place after that. He said he wasn't ready to be alone with his own walls. The ride was full of old soul music, Al Green and Donny Hathaway. No words, just shared air. Back home, Ania was on the porch reading a book. When she saw us, her little body stiffened like a dream showed up too early. "Uncle Marcus?" He smiled at her. And that tiny moment, that smile, it thawed something deep in me that I didn't even know was still frozen. Because that man hadn't smiled like that in years. She ran into his arms and nearly knocked him over. Later that night, we sat together in the living room. Just me, Marcus, and light laughter coming from the kitchen where Shine and Ania were cooking up something fried and unnecessary. He turned toward me. "You know what the worst part was?" "What?" "Thinking that all those days I wasn't calling. You weren't feeling it." I nodded slow. I felt every silence like it owed me money. He laughed, and Lord, it sounded like home. Then he looked serious again. "I said some stuff too, to myself, to my therapist, to a few friends. I painted you kind of cold, Ma." I raised a brow. He chuckled. "Made you sound like Medea with a grudge." "Well," I shrugged with a smirk. "Some days not far off." He leaned back, looked around the room. "I miss home." My smile faltered a little. "Then come back. Not to live, you grown, but come back. Let your name ring in these walls again." He nodded. "Not with duty, with peace." Then we heard Shine in the kitchen yelling, "Lord, somebody turn that burner down before we catch fire and salvation together." We both snorted. Hard. It was the laugh I needed, the kind that didn't feel guilty after. Before bed, Marcus walked out to the porch. I followed. 2 mugs of that cinnamon honey tea my mama used to swear made sorrow taste better going down. He watched the stars like they might leave breadcrumbs toward forgiveness. "I was so angry," he said, "but mostly at myself." "For what?" "For believing I wasn't lovable." I sat down on the swing. "You were always lovable. You just forgot what real love sounds like. It's not always soft, but it don't call you names, and it sure don't pack up and leave." He turned to me, eyes glassy but sure. "I want to fix things." "You're already doing it." He sipped his tea. "I called Caleb on the drive over, told him I wanted us all to get together for dinner next Sunday." I grinned. "You ready for Joylene's cornbread that tastes like cement and regret?" He laughed loud this time. "She's still using that boxed mix? She swears she rebrands it with hope every year." We laughed until the stars leaned in to listen. That night, I watched my son sleep on the couch he once built with his teenage hands, the one that creaks too much, but still holds when it counts. And before I turned in, I recorded a new voicemail, just in case the universe was listening. "Marcus, I see you, I know you, and I'm proud of the man you're becoming. I'm sorry for the silence we shared, but I promise I'll never let love go unheard again." The moment I stepped into that house, I knew. That boy had been living like silence was furniture. No pictures on the walls. Couch stiff and too clean, like it was waiting for guests that never came. Kitchen barely lived in, a few takeout menus stacked beside a mail pile that hadn't been opened in weeks. Marcus said nothing, just turned and walked into the living room like he was walking into court, hands behind his back like they didn't know what to do with redemption. I followed, heartbeat pressing against my ribs like it wanted to write its own apology first. He sat down at the edge of his couch, elbows on his knees like he was balancing the weight of everything he never said. I noticed his haircut, lined sharp, neat beard, shirt ironed, but his eyes? Lord. They looked like the last 12 years had burned clean through the inside. "Water?" he asked, voice barely louder than the AC humming behind him. "I'm okay." There was too much thirst in the moment for water to fix. We sat there like strangers who had to remember we once shared a grocery list, a roof, blood. I looked at the table between us. Wood grain, no coaster rings, like nobody stayed long enough to leave one. Then he reached into a drawer and pulled out the tape recorder, held it gingerly like it was holding him. "You heard it?" he asked. "All of it," I whispered. "And baby, you've been hurting off of a lie." He didn't flinch, didn't blink, just hit play. His voice crackled in the air. "I heard you. You and Aunt Shine talking. I know I was just a burden, just like him." Pause. I told myself I didn't need you, but a man ain't supposed to carry that kind of silence. Then my voice followed, the old voicemail. The one he'd never heard. Marcus, baby, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about your father. You're the best thing that ever came from him. Please, call me. He pressed stop. Silence folded in around us like laundry nobody wanted to do. I never heard that, he said. I know, I choked. Shine erased it, accidentally. Lord, if she knew what she'd done. He nodded slowly, as if every breath required permission from something tender. All those years, he muttered. And I thought, I built my personality around not being wanted. My shoulders dropped. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees now. Marcus, I wanted you before I even knew what I was doing, before your little heartbeat showed up on that smeared sonogram, before I knew how I was going to buy diapers or finish school. I wanted you, still want you. He finally turned his head toward me. His eyes were glassy, but his lip, it quivered just a little like it remembered Mama used to mean safety. I thought you compared me to him. I thought you saw me as his shadow. I saw him in your walk, I said, in your smile, but never in your integrity, never in your soul. He let out a sound somewhere between a choke and a laugh. You know how many therapists I sat with trying to untangle one sentence? I nodded, reached for his hand, rested mine close, not touching, just offering. Words can build a house, I said, but baby, they can also burn one down by accident. He leaned back with a groan. You ever hate me? Never, I said, not even once. He looked up at the ceiling, doing math with the fan blades. I missed your cornbread, he mumbled. I smiled, first real smile that reached my chest in years. Child, I've been making it every Sunday like you might hear it from Houston and follow the smell. Never made it out of Houston, he said, shaking his head. Moved back 3 years ago. I blinked. You been in the same city as me for 3 whole years? He nodded. Drove past the house once or twice, saw the porch lights on, thought you had company. I had your absence, baby, I whispered. That was the only thing keeping me up at night. He let himself cry then, not loud, not dramatic, real, silent tears. Chin trembling, breath catching in his chest like a prayer he forgot how to say. I reached out slow, cupped the side of his face like I used to when he was sick with fever, and whiskey couldn't fix it. His skin was warm, real. I'm here, I said. He nodded like maybe he'd finally started to believe it. We sat in that living room, surrounded by furniture that had never known the weight of our history until now, and for the first time, I watched silence apologize. Later, he packed a small bag and followed me to my car. I'm not ready to be alone tonight, he admitted. You don't have to be. Home was quiet, like it had been left on pause. The porch light welcomed him like it hadn't burned every night in waiting. Inside, the couch still had the dent from where Joylene naps after work. Microwave blinked that it was set but hadn't been used since Tuesday evening leftovers. Anya was curled on the floor with a puzzle. When she looked up and saw him, she jumped to her feet like she was seeing a myth made flesh. Uncle Marcus? He smiled. And Lord, it broke me. That smile had been in hibernation for over a decade. Hey, kiddo. She ran to him, hugged him so hard he staggered back laughing. From the kitchen, I heard Tatia pause what she was doing. The clink of the fork stopped. Even she couldn't pretend this wasn't holy. In the corner of the room, the old family photo sat crooked on the shelf, the one I never took down, even after he hadn't come home for Thanksgiving. It was lit in gold from the sunset outside. Later that night, I stood in his old room, holding a blanket he used to drag around as a boy. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall like memories were showing home movies up there. I kept all this? He asked. I kept you in every room. He looked up at me, tears swimming behind his lashes. I ain't even know what love sounded like anymore. I kept thinking, if she was going to reach out for real, she would have by now. I sat beside him, reached for his hand. I left you 1,000 messages in everything I did. That porch light, the calendar with your birthday circled in red, the box in the hallway with your yearbooks. But baby, I forgive you for not seeing it. And I hope you forgive me for not screaming louder. He nodded, rested his forehead on my shoulder like he used to after nightmares. We rocked in the memory of what mercy sounds like. And I didn't say it, but I thought it. He came back. My boy found his way home. We thought the hardest part was over that night. Marcus slept on the living room couch like he had never left, his legs too long now, feet hanging off the edge. He fell asleep with a blanket half over him and his arm across his chest, the same way he used to in high school. I stood in the doorway and just stared. 12 years, and the sound of him snoring in my house felt like the last scene of a movie I didn't think I'd live through. But you know what they don't tell you about reunions? They don't fix everything. They just open the door. And sometimes, what's waiting behind that door got its own questions. The next day, Joylene came by early, still in her hospital scrubs, hair tied up, dark circles under her eyes like they'd moved in and set up furniture. She saw Marcus curled up on the couch and backed up half a step like she hit an emotional tripwire. "Ma," she whispered, pointing. I nodded. "He came home." She crossed her arms, lip curled slight. "Oh, so now he want to show up." "Joy." "Don't joy me. You know how hard it's been on me since he left? You leaned on me like I was the eldest, paying bills, driving you to them appointments, helping raise Caleb and that baby." Marcus stirred. The whispering woke him. His eyes opened slow, adjusting to the room, then to her face. "Hey, Joy." She stared at him, didn't say a thing, just stared. He sat up, rubbed his face. "I'm sorry. I didn't know how to face y'all." She raised a brow. "All them years, and couldn't pick up a phone? I didn't think I was wanted." She laughed, bitter and low. "Not wanted? We thought you were dead, Marcus. And Ma never stopped worrying. Don't let her fool you with all that porch swing serenity. She was breaking every day." "I paid," he said. "Believe me." "You paid?" She pointed to herself. "Try explaining to your daughter why her uncle ain't at a single recital, birthday, or graduation. Try watching your mama jump every time the phone rings, thinking it might be you." I stepped in. "Okay," I said. "Enough." They both backed up, simmering. Marcus exhaled. Joylene picked up her keys like she was about to leave, but I caught her hand. "Baby," I said. "He's here now. That don't mean what you did didn't matter." Her eyes welled, but she blinked it off. I'm tired, Ma, that's all." "I know." She left. Marcus slumped. "She hates me." "No, she hurts." He nodded again. "Same thing sometimes." Later, we sat at the dining table. Same one he ate his prom meal at. Same one we lit candles on his 13th birthday. I watched him stare at a placemat like it might spell forgiveness if he looked long enough. I slid a manila folder across to him. "What's this?" he asked. I said nothing. He opened it. Inside were all his unopened college bills, all the ones that never made it to him. "I never blamed you," I said. "I saw stuff coming in with your name, just kept handling it, even when you vanished. I figured, maybe if I keep covering you, you'll come back to something worth returning for." He shook his head. "Ma, I didn't do it to make you owe me," I said. "Then why?" I smiled tender. "'Cause I'm your mother. I signed up for life." He held the papers up like they weighed more than they looked. "I need to start paying you back." I laughed. "Start by cutting the grass, then we'll talk." He chuckled. "Okay. But baby," I said, leaning forward, "reunion is a beginning, not a prize. You gotta do the slow work now." What if I don't know how?" "You learning," I said. "Every step you take toward this house is you remembering your name." The neighborhood noticed, too. Mr. Harmon waved longer when he saw us sweeping the porch. Miss Greta from across the street baked a pie, didn't even ask what kind we liked. Just showed up smiling, eyes teary. "You got your boy back," she said with a whisper. 12 years is a long wait. You must have prayed extra." "I did," I said, on my knees and under my breath. "Well," she nodded with an old church lady smirk, "seems the Lord finally got out his calendar." But of course, the past don't pack light. It shows up days later. Marcus walked me back to his apartment so he could grab clothes. When he unlocked the door, there was a red notice on it. Eviction warning. I looked at him sideways. "Marcus." He closed his eyes. I got behind, tried to act like I wasn't struggling. Guess I wanted to stay invisible. "You succeeded," I said, soft but sharp. He shook his head. "This all me, Ma. I'll figure it out." "Start by letting your mama help," I said. He laughed bitter. You already helped more than I earned. You didn't earn me. You was given to me. There ain't no price tag on grace. We moved him back into the house that week. Anya made a sign that said, "Welcome back, Uncle Marky," and taped it crooked to his bedroom door. He cried when he saw it. Didn't even unbox anything for an hour. Just stared at the sign like it wrote peace across his chest. Joylene still wasn't soft, but I caught her leaving extra new drawer liners in his room when she thought I wasn't looking. She'd forgive him, by deed, before word. That's how she moved. Later that night, I found Marcus sitting with Aunt Shine out on the porch. I tensed, thought he might snap. Instead, he said, "You cost me more time than you'll ever know." She nodded. "I know that." "But you still loved her while I ran." She smiled. "Oh, baby, I never stopped waiting for the both of y'all. Just didn't know I was the one who kicked the piece down the stairs." "My therapist told me to ask something," he said. "Not just why, but would I have wanted the truth sooner, even if it hurt?" "Do you?" she asked. He nodded. "I deserved the truth, even if it stung, even if it came when I was too young to process it." She looked up at the stars. "You ready for some more truth?" He swallowed. "Yeah." She leaned in. "Your mama, she almost sold this house when you left. Couldn't walk past your room." His face crumbled. "Why you think I came so often?" she said. "To watch her? Nah, I came to keep her." He stared into the night quiet, then said, "Thank you." "Don't thank me," she said. "Just don't make her feel unseen again." "I won't," he said. And I believed him. 2 months. That's how long it's been since my son walked back into this house, like time was something we could carry in our pockets, not buried behind lost birthdays and missed calls. But baby, I tell you the truth, it ain't been about time. It's been about tending. Not everything that breaks needs to be thrown out. Sometimes it just needs hands patient enough to wait while it comes back together. Marcus still wakes up early, sits on the porch most mornings before the sun climbs over the fence. Coffee in one hand, silence in the other. Sometimes I sit with him. We don't even talk. We just let breathing be a form of forgiveness. Let shared air make up for 12 years of missed thank yous. Last week he finally said it, said the words like he hadn't practiced them in his head every night, and maybe he hadn't. Maybe healing don't need practice, just presence. "I was wrong," he said, "but I didn't think love would wait this long." I looked at him right in them eyes that used to flash lightning when he was a boy. "Baby," I said, "my arms ain't got expiration dates." He nodded slow, took a sip of that coffee like he was finally tasting peace instead of pride. Joylene warmed up to him too. She came by last Sunday wearing a purple wrap dress that hugged her curves like confidence. The tension in her shoulders had loosened, eyes softer. She brought Ania's science project by like she wasn't staying, but she did. 3 hours later, I caught her and Marcus laughing at an old inside joke about their 7th grade principal who had a wig that shifted diagonally by the end of the day. Ania. She didn't ask much. She just made a shelf in her room for him. Drew a picture that looked like the two of them holding hands in front of my porch. Labeled it, "Family Returns." She gets it. Tasha came by once, stood by the door like guilt didn't know whether to knock or shout. She looked Marcus up and down and said coldly, "Humph. So you finally remembered your people?" He didn't argue, just said, "Still trying to." She tilted her head, handed him a small box. Inside was a photo of the 3 of them, taken early in their marriage. Them smiling, younger, believing, Tasha, Marcus, and Ania in her lap, all baby cheeks and bows. "It's not for you," Tasha had said. "It's for her. She never stopped waiting either." He held that box like it buzzed with regret. Didn't say much, just nodded. "Thank you." She paused. "You better not break her again." He looked like a man who'd been told everything he already knew. "I won't." Caleb was the only one who didn't blink when Marcus came back. Told me, "People leave, Ma, but sometimes they come back stronger." He never talks long, but when he does, it lands. Marcus asked him to help build a bench for the backyard. No contractor, just 2 brothers with strong backs and heavy memories. While they worked, I made lemonade like it was a ritual. Watched from the kitchen as they measured, hammered, laughed once or twice. Doesn't fix 12 years, but it's a start. That fall, the porch changed. We added new wind chimes, potted new mums. Aunt Shine even brought by one of those dramatic fall wreaths she made with pine cones and prayer. New season, she winked. New mercy, I said. One night, I sat outside just before dark, gold light stretching itself across the porch like it was trying to sleep, but still had things to say. Marcus stepped out with a small envelope. Can I read you something? I looked up from my tea. Always. He opened the paper, cleared his throat. Dear Ma, he began, I thought I had to leave to find clarity. All I found was silence that sounded too close to my own guilt. I thought you were ashamed of me. I didn't realize you were hurting too. You protected me so much, I mistook it for distance. I misheard love. But love doesn't whisper insults. It survives misunderstanding. You just want what's good for me. You always have. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I let a moment define a decade. I'm sorry for walking away instead of asking. I'm sorry for not calling on your birthday, for missing Sunday dinners, for breaking your heart at least once a year with a silence I wore like armor. But I'm done being quiet now. If you'll let me— Here his voice cracked. I'd like to come back home. He folded the letter. I looked at him. Then I stood up, walked over, and hugged him. Long, tight, heavy with everything we never said but now lived in. When I pulled back, I said, Baby, you never left my home, just your room. He smiled through his tears. Still got that raggedy blanket in there? I raised a brow. I washed it twice and almost threw it out. You didn't. No, I didn't. 2 weeks later, we took a new family photo. All of us. Me, older Ora Mae, wearing a deep navy jumpsuit, hair pressed and curled just right. Gold hoops. Fresh lipstick. Not to look young, but to look blessed. Marcus stood across from me, arm around Joylene. Ania held my hand, smiling like healing was contagious. Caleb wore that too cool smirk. Aunt Shine held her famous plate of peach cobbler like it was a trophy. Shutter clicked, and just like that, we were frozen in something other than grief. After that, Marcus started speaking at small support groups, telling his story, about misunderstanding, about walking away, about how he almost lost his deepest anchor chasing silence instead of clarity. Ask, he'd say, don't assume. Love don't always sound soft. Sometimes it's tired, but it's still love. They handed him a mic. He handed them truth. Ania was the one who said, You should post this to Grandma's channel. And Lord, when we did, thousands of comments poured in. I sat on the couch that night, phone in hand, watching people say, That's my son too, or I haven't spoken to my mama in 8 years. Or the one that broke me. I'm texting her now. I'm done being mad. Legacy don't come easy. But baby, it multiplies once it starts moving. Now before I end this, let me sit you down gentle in this last truth. Sometimes you gon' be misunderstood. You gon' say something in pain and your child will hear shame. Or someone you love will walk away because they heard fear instead of affection. Let them, but don't burn the bridge. Keep the light on. Fold the blanket. Circle the calendar. And if you mess up, try again. Love is echo and invitation. It'll come back when it's ready, but you best believe if it sees the porch light still burning, it knows you never gave up. One night, late October, Marcus came outside in his hoodie, sat next to me on the glider. Ma? If you hadn't played that tape, I was gonna find you tape or no tape. He laughed. I know, you scary when you on a mission. We rocked for a few beats, the kind of quiet you earn. I looked at him. You made it back, baby. Whole. Almost? That's enough for now. We didn't say much after that. Didn't need to. Silence didn't feel like absence anymore. It felt like peace. If you felt something in this story, don't scroll past. Go on and join the Porch family. Hit that subscribe button. Share this with somebody whose pride is shouting louder than their love. And tell me in the comments, what would you do in my place? Because sometimes the only thing standing between healing and heartbreak is a voicemail that never should have gone unheard. Tales of Ora Mae. I got more stories where that came from. Every day. And baby, we just getting started.